Hari. Gopijana Balaba Girivaradari. Jai Gopijana Balaba Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachariya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvarajagacharya Statara Sadashi Shimad Abai Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Ganga Mai ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radhe Shamsundar ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
The summary is also there.
Do you read the summary first? Okay. So we're here on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 48. So this chapter is entitled, Krishna Pleases His Devotees. In this chapter, Lord Shri Krishna first visits Trivakra, also known as Kubja, and enjoys with her. And then he visits Akrura. The Lord sends Akrura to Hastinapura to satisfy the Pandavas. After Uddhava had related to Sri Krishna the news of Braja, The Lord went to the home of Trivakra, which was decorated with diverse ornamentation conducive to sexual enjoyment. Trivakra welcomed Krishna with great respect, giving him a raised seat and, together with her female companions, worshipping him. She also offered Uddhava a seat as befitted his position, but Uddhava simply touched the seat and sat on the floor. Lord Krishna then reclined on an opulent bed as the maid-servant Trivakra elaborately washed and decorated herself. Then she approached him. Krishna invited Trivakra to the bed and began to enjoy with her in various ways. By embracing Lord Krishna, Trivakra freed herself of the torment of lust. She asked Krishna to remain with her for some time, and the considerate Lord promised to fulfill her request in due course. He then returned with Uddhava to his residence. Apart from offering sandal paste to Krishna, Trivakra had never performed any pious acts, yet simply on the strength of the piety of this single act, she attained the rare personal association of Krishna. Sri Krishna next went to Akrura's house with Lord Baladev and Uddhava. Akrura honored the three of them by bowing down and presenting them with suitable sitting places. Then he worshipped Rama and Krishna, washed their feet and poured the water on his head. Akrura also offered them many prayers. Lord Krishna was pleased with Akrura's prayers. He told him that since he, Akrura, was in fact their paternal uncle, Krishna and Balaram should be the recipients of his protection and mercy. Lord Krishna then praised Akrura as a saint and purifier of the sinful, and he asked him to visit Hastinapura to find out how the Pandavas, deprived of their father, were faring. Finally, the Lord returned home, taking Balaram and Uddhava with him. Okay, text 1. Shri Sukha Uvacha Ata Vigyaya Bhagavan Sarvatma Sarvadarshanaha Sairandriya Kamataptaya Priyamichan Griham Yayo Shri Sukha Uvacha Ata Vigyaya Bhagavan Sarvatma Sarvadarshanaha Sairandira Kamataptaya Priyamichan Griham Yayo Ladies, please. Shri Sukha Uvacha. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, Ata, then, Vigyaya, understanding, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, Sarva, of all, Atma, the soul, Sarva, of everything, Darshanaha, the seer, Sairandriya, of the serving girl Trivakra, Kama, by lust, Taptaya, troubled, Priyam, the satisfaction, Ichan, wanting, Griham, to her house, Yayo, he went. Translation, Shukadeva Goswami said, next, after assimilating Uddhava's report, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the omniscient soul of all that be, desired to satisfy the serving girl Trivakra, who was troubled by lust. Thus he went to her house. Purport. This text gives an interesting insight into the Lord's pastimes. The first line says, Ata Vigyaya Bhagavan. Thus the Lord, understanding Uddhava's report. The second line states that Lord Krishna is the soul of everything, Sarvatma, and the seer of everything, Sarva Darshanaha. In other words, although he certainly does not depend on spoken reports from messengers, he plays the part of a human being and listens to news from a messenger, not out of need as we would do, but in the bliss of his spiritual pastimes, exchanging love with his pure devotee. The word Sarva Darshanaha also indicates that the Lord perfectly understood the feelings of the residents of Braja and was perfectly reciprocating with them within their hearts. Now, in his external pastimes, he desired to bless Srimati Trivikra, who was about to be freed from the disease of material lust. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ata Vigyaya Bhagavan Sarvatma Sarva Darshanaha Sairandriya Kama Taptaya Priyamichan Grihang Yayo. Shukadeva Goswami said, next, after assimilating Uddhava's report, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the omniscient soul of all that be, desired to satisfy the serving girl Trivakra, who was troubled by lust. Thus he went to her house. So, Hare Krishna. Very blessed to participate in this assembly of exalted devotees, and I beg for your forgiveness and also encouragement in order to say something about this verse and commentary. So, Trivakra, as mentioned in the summary, is also known as Kubja, and Srila Prabhupada refers to her as Kubja in his summary study of the 10th canto, which is published as the Krishna book. So, Lord Krishna and Balaram met Kubja when they came to Mathura for the wrestling match, which was arranged by Kamsa. So she was a hunchback girl. Actually, in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, it's mentioned that she was previously Suparnika in the Rama Lila, and she had that desire to marry Lord Rama, but it was unfulfilled. She ended up getting her nose cut off by Lakshman. Rama told her, I took a vow, Ekapatni Brata, took a vow to have only one wife, but my younger brother Lakshman, he's unmarried, he's very qualified. So she was kind of harassing them, and in the end Lakshman cut off her nose. So anyhow, she appears in the Krishna Lila. I want to read here from the 42nd chapter of this canto. This describes the meeting of Kubja and Krishna and Balaram. So Sukadev Goswami said, as he walked down the King's Road, Lord Madhava saw a young hunchback woman with an attractive face who carried a tray of fragrant ointments as she walked along. The bestower of the ecstasy of love smiled and inquired from her as follows. So I'm going to read also the purport of this verse. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the young hunchback girl was actually a partial expansion of the Lord's wife, Satyabhama. Satyabhama is the Lord's internal energy known as Bhu Shakti, and this expansion of hers, known as Prithivi, represents the earth which was bent down with the great burden of countless wicked rulers. Lord Krishna descended to remove these wicked rulers, and thus his pastime of straightening out the hunchback Trivikra, as explained in these verses, represents his rectifying the burdened condition of the earth. At the same time, the Lord awarded Trivakra a conjugal relationship with himself. In addition to the given meaning, the word Rasaprada indicates that the Lord amused his cowherd boyfriends by his dealings with the young hunchback. Also, in the Krishna book, Prabhupada says, as stated in the Vedic versions, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has multi-potencies. According to expert opinion, Kubja represents the Bhu Shakti potency of the Lord, just as Srimati Radharani represents his Chit Shakti potency. Although Kubja requested Krishna to remain with her for some days, Krishna politely impressed upon her that it was not possible for him to stay. So I'm going to the second verse of the chapter 42. Lord Krishna said, "Who are you, O beautiful thighed one?" "Ah, ointment. Who is it for, my dear lady? Please tell us truthfully. Give us both some of your finest ointment, and you will gain a great boon." The maidservant replied, "O handsome one, I am servant of King Kangsa, who highly regards me for the ointments I make. My name is Trivakra. Who else but you too deserve my ointments, which the Lord of the Bhojas likes so much?" Her mind overwhelmed by Krishna's beauty, charm, sweetness, smiles, words and glances, Trivakra gave both Krishna and Balaram generous amounts of ointment. Anointed with these most excellent cosmetics, which adorned them with hues that contrasted with their complexions, the two lords appeared extremely beautiful. Lord Krishna was pleased with Trivakra, so he decided to straighten that hunchback girl with a lovely face, just to demonstrate the result of seeing him. Pressing down on her toes with both his feet, Lord Achyuta placed one upward pointing finger of each hand under her chin and straightened up her body. Simply by Lord Mukunda's touch, Trivakra was suddenly transformed into an exquisitely beautiful woman with straight, evenly proportioned limbs and large hips and breasts. Now endowed with beauty, character and generosity, Trivakra began to feel lusty desires for Lord Keshava. Taking hold of the end of his upper cloth, she smiled and addressed him as follows. Trivakra said, "Come, O hero, let us go to my house. I cannot bear to leave you here. O best of males, please take pity on me, since you have agitated my mind." And here also I'll read the purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur supplies the following conversation. Krishna, is it for the purpose of dining that you're inviting me to your house? Trivakra, I simply can't leave you here. Krishna, but people here on the King's Road will misconstrue what you're saying and laugh. Therefore, please don't speak like this. Trivakra, I can't help being agitated. You made the mistake of touching me. It's not my fault. Thus entreated by the woman, Lord Krishna first glanced at the face of Balaram, who was watching the incident, and then at the faces of the cowherd boys. Then with a laugh, Krishna replied to her as follows. Lord Krishna said, "O lady with the beautiful eyebrows, as soon as I fulfill my purpose, I will certainly visit your house, where men can relieve their anxiety. Indeed, you are the best refuge for us homeless travelers." In the purport, by the word agrihanam, Sri Krishna indicated not only that he had no fixed residence, but also that he was not yet married. So in this way, then Krishna proceeded further, and of course, that is a very detailed lila, which described how Krishna and Balaram, they, behaved as they pleased in Mathura. And then, for example, they met the washerman. He had many of the king's clothes. So they wanted to take some of those clothes. And he was objecting. These are the king's clothes. Who are you boys to come here and just, demand the king's clothes? But they just took them and dressed themselves as they liked. So Krishna and Balaram, being the supreme personalities of Godhead, had no fear at all of King Kangsa. But ordinary citizens, of course, had great fear of the king. The king in Vedic time, all powerful, pretty much. So after that, they also killed the elephant, Kuvalyapida, the mad elephant. And Kamsa was trying by any means to kill Krishna and Balaram. He was terrified, actually, and he had seen many inauspicious omens, such as he would look in a mirror and he would see no head on his body, and various other ill omens. So, he was desperate to get rid of Krishna by any means, and he was trying all means possible. That's why he sent so many demons to Vrindavan, who tried in various ways to kill Krishna. Putana was the first, of course, that was sent. She took pretended to be a beautiful young woman and requested Mother Yasoda, other gopis, that she wanted to breastfeed Krishna. And they were very charmed by her appearance, so Mother Yasoda agreed. But then, when Krishna sucked her breast, he sucked out her life air, and she resumed her gigantic demoniac form. But she was also given special blessings and went to reside in the spiritual world eternally. So Krishna, very merciful to all kinds of personalities. So this, after killing the elephant, Kuvalyapida, then they went into the wrestling arena, where there was a great battle. Kamsa had summoned all the best wrestlers in Mathura, in his kingdom, and seemed, of course, these boys were very young boys, and some persons in the audience thought this is a very unfair, uneven match. What chance do these small boys, young men, have with these great, powerful wrestlers? But as we know, Krishna and Balaram easily defeated all of them, and finally Krishna jumped over the fence, grabbed Kamsa by the throat and throttled him, and he left his body. So thus the prediction of the divine voice, which had spoken at the time of the marriage of Vasudeva and Devaki, came true. The divine voice,
Somebody had a separate unit. I think it's some translation.
Oh, okay. So Kamsa, being the brother or cousin brother of Devaki, he was driving Vasudeva and Devaki home after the wedding, and then a divine voice spoke, "You fool, Kamsa, the 8th child of Devaki will kill you." So immediately, being a demon, he wanted to kill Devaki. But Vasudeva, he was expert in diplomacy. He convinced Kamsa, "Don't worry, I give you my promise." And this is a Kshatriya, and they gave their promise. Usually they fulfilled their promise. So, Kamsa believed him when he said that, "I'll hand over all the children that are born to you one by one." But Kamsa was not completely convinced, so in order to be sure, he imprisoned Vasudeva and Devaki, and one by one the children were handed over by Vasudeva, and one by one he killed them all, 6 children. And then the 7th pregnancy, Kamsa was waiting for the child to be born, but by the potency of Yogamaya, a child in the womb was transferred to the womb of Rohini, another wife of Vasudeva, who was living under the care of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. So in this way, Lord Balaram appeared seemingly as son of Rohini, and is known as Rohini Nandan. So when the eighth pregnancy was there, Kamsa was really terrified. But again, he was outwitted by the Lord, the transcendental potency of the Lord. At the time of the birth, the guards all went to sleep by the mystic potency of the Lord, and the locks on the prison house opened and the doors opened, and Vasudeva was able to take the child out and cross over the river Yamuna and bring the child to the home of Nanda Maharaj, where he exchanged her with the Yogamaya. Yashoda had just given birth to a baby daughter, so he was able to change it and bring the girl back. Then the gates locked and the guards woke up. They called Kamsa. He came to kill the child, and lo and behold, it was a girl. But still he wanted to smash that girl on the floor, to kill her. Devaki was pleading, please, this is a girl, the prediction said the child would be a boy who would kill you. But he wanted to make sure, so he was trying to kill her. And then she took the 8-armed form, Yogamaya, and she told Kamsa, you fool, the child who's going to kill you is already born elsewhere. Is already born and is elsewhere. So then he ordered all the newborn children in the district to be killed. But Nanda Maharaj was able to keep the children concealed, and even the name-giving ceremony, which is normally a very joyous occasion in a village, all the relatives, all the local people are invited to the ceremony. There will be a great feast. The names will be given, etc., and it's a very wonderful occasion. So he had it performed secretly, that ceremony, in the cowshed by the priest Gargamuni, who gave the names to Krishna and Balaram. So in this way, Krishna remained concealed, but gradually he began to perform various kinds of wonderful activities, and this came to Kamsa's attention, so he thought, maybe this is the child who will kill me. So he was sending these demoniac friends of him. But Krishna dispatched them all one by one. Putana, Agasura, Bakasura, etc., Pralambasura. None of them were able to kill Krishna and Balaram, and they grew up, they became stronger, and then finally Kamsa hatched this plot to call them to Mathura and, defeat them in the wrestling arena. But it all went in vain, and Krishna finally grabbed Kamsa and killed him. And all Kamsa's brothers were killed by Balaram, because generally one shouldn't kill one's maternal uncle. So this was a kind of exception. Krishna killed Kamsa, even though he was his maternal uncle, but didn't want to kill the rest of the brothers. So Balaram took up that task. So after all of that, then Krishna had said, we've been reading the chapter how Uddhava was sent by Krishna to Vrindavan to console the inhabitants, because he wanted to stay in Mathura to take care of his parents who had suffered so long in a prison house and didn't have his association right from the very beginning, from the very childhood. And Balaram and Krishna were sent to Gurukula also by Sandipani Muni. So these pastimes took place. That Krishna came back to Mathura, and he sent Uddhava to console the gopis and the other inhabitants of Vrindavan. And then Uddhava has come back and given his report to Lord Krishna, who is, very happy that somehow the inhabitants of Vrindavan have been consoled. So he had promised, as we've been reading, he had promised to come and visit Kubja again. So now he was going to fulfill his promise. He doesn't always exactly do it, as he says. I mean, he promised to come back to Vrindavan, but he didn't come back. He only sent Uddhava. Later Balaram went, but Krishna himself didn't go back. Although it's considered that he's always present there in the hearts of his devotees who are thinking of him and meditating on him and serving him. So anyway, but in this case he did come back to visit Kubja, and this chapter will describe in detail how she received him and how Krishna reciprocated with her, and in this way her innermost desires were fulfilled and she became freed from material lust. This is one of the goals, we can say, one of the goals of Krishna consciousness is to free the devotees from material lust, material desires, and help them to develop pure love of Godhead. That's a very rare gift, to be able to attain pure love of Godhead. But it is possible by following the instructions of the Lord and following the instructions of the Lord's great devotees. So Trivikrama was very fortunate that she could get such a close association with the Lord and become purified by his association. He is the supreme abode and purifier, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Arjuna glorifies Krishna in that way. You're the supreme abode and supreme purifier. So Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes, they are non-different from Krishna, and by chanting his names, by hearing his pastimes, we become purified of material contamination. Of course, that generally requires repeated chanting and repeated hearing on a daily basis. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada established these programs in the temples where devotees every day were chanting kirtan together in front of the deities, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam together and discussing the topics in the association of devotees. So this is the means to become purified. In addition to that, one should be engaged in devotional service to the Lord. Some practical service. Prabhupada very much liked to see devotees working hard for Krishna. Once I remember getting a letter from Prabhupada when we were on traveling Sankirtan in the UK, and Prabhupada was saying that, you're all working hard to serve me by distributing my books. Sometimes it must be very cold there. You're traveling extensively. You don't get, very opulent prasadam. You may not get sufficient rest sometimes. But still, he said, because you're serving me in this way, you have surpassed the feats of millions of yogis and transcendentalists and come to the highest stage of surrender to Krishna. So Prabhupada very much wanted the devotees to do that, work hard for Krishna. There's time for study and chanting in our daily schedule, but generally Prabhupada didn't recommend the devotees to be spending the whole time on that. I believe there's a controversy between some sannyasis in New York long ago. And one of them said devotees should attend morning and evening program, and during the day go on Sankirtan, Harinam, Sankirtan, book distribution. And the other sannyasi said morning, evening program and extra classes up till lunch, then lunch prasadam. I don't know, maybe a little rest after lunch. Anyway, lunch prasadam, and then go on Sankirtan. But Prabhupada actually, he preferred the first option. He liked to see devotees working hard. We were mentioning Vishal Prabhu in class the other day, and there's a famous pastime with Prabhupada here. As who was giving that class? Yourself, excuse me, Maharaj. Yeah. So Prabhupada, as Maharaj mentioned, Vishal was very bold, and he could just, walk straight into Prabhupada's house. Generally, the servants were very strict. They didn't allow just anybody in. But he could somehow or other get past them all and, speak very openly to Prabhupada also. So there is one pastime when Prabhupada came out of his house for morning walk. Generally, the pathways around the temple were cleaned by the Gurukula boys after Mangal Arti, and they put water on the pathways and then, brushed the water away with those brooms. So this particular morning, Prabhupada came out, and Vishal began to glorify Prabhupada. He was reciting the translation of one verse from the first chapter of the first canto of the Bhagavatam. We think that we have met your grace by the will of providence. This is the sages in Naimisharanya speaking to Sudha Goswami. We think we have met your grace by the will of providence, just to accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali. So, it's a very appropriate verse to glorify Srila Prabhupada with. But on this particular occasion, Vishal just got as far as the word providence. And Prabhupada stopped him, and he tapped his cane on the ground. There was some dirty water there. And Prabhupada said, "Is this the will of providence?" And Vishal said, No, Prabhupada, this is my fault. He took responsibility. It's very honorable. And Prabhupada said, yes. He said, do something practical. He said, clean it up. So, he didn't want to just hear big words. He wanted the services to be done nicely, so that, temple and all around the temple was spick and span. Those who were in Vrindavan in those days also remember how particular Prabhupada was about the bell ringing. It had to ring exactly on time. So Prabhupada, he had high standards, and he wanted, the devotees were very meticulous and very attentive to their responsibilities. So he himself, worked very, very hard, as we know. Prabhupada worked very hard. I remember it's actually the last conversation I had with Srila Prabhupada. Last time I met him here in August 1977. Prabhupada was very ill at the time. Discussion was about preaching in Nepal and Bangladesh. We had been in Bangladesh preaching, but there was a shooting incident in Mayapur. Some Muslims attacked a temple, and then the devotees had some kind of pellet guns. I think they fired them in the air to chase these intruders away. But those intruders made a police report, and the police came and arrested the devotees. So they were handcuffed and they were taken on the boat to Navadip, and they were paraded through the streets of Navadip in handcuffs. And this appeared in newspapers all over India. Prabhupada, of course, was really upset by that, really upset. But we were in Bangladesh, we were preaching in a Sundarbans, a very remote place in the Bay of Bengal. And police came after one program. It's a big program, a lot of people. And they arrested us, and they brought us back to Dhaka, the capital city, at gunpoint, and straight into the office of the National Director of Security and Intelligence. He had his whole desk was covered with newspaper clippings. I remember one of them, one of the English papers said, "Cruel foreign Vaishnavas shoot timid Muslim villagers." So, Bangladesh is a Muslim majority country. So he said, this is dangerous for you here, because we were, having big program in Bengal, we go from village to village. I think those days we had the projectors, small projectors, showing the first movie of Yadabara, the Hare Krishna people. So, of course, this was a sensation in villages and towns and villages in Bangladesh. The foreign Vaishnavas showing the movies. So word would spread quickly. Hundreds, thousands of people would gather at these programs. But, obviously, if the word went out that, we were shooting timid Muslim villagers or whatever, we could have been lynched, we could have been whatever. So he said, you have to leave this country. He gave us a letter, persona non grata, leave within 7 days. But, he kindly didn't put our names in a blacklist. He said, you can come back later. So we went, and then I had thought maybe go to Nepal and open a temple. So Jayapataka Maharaj gave me a letter. He was a GBC. They gave me a letter for Srila Prabhupada. Described our, preaching in Bangladesh and the idea of going to Nepal. So I came here, I gave the letter to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was Prabhupada's secretary, and after a short time I was asked to come and see Srila Prabhupada. So then Prabhupada gave his blessings for preaching in Nepal, and he actually, he said that Nepal is a Hindu country. They have the sentiment of Hinduism, so we should develop a center there with the cooperation of the government. I didn't really pay much attention to cooperation of the government. We just went there and started in a regular way doing Harinam. But these days, some of the devotees have focused in on that, and they've gotten a lot of grants from the government for many, many different things. And the government is actually very helpful. But anyhow, at that time we needed money to extend our visas every month. In Nepal they had a rule, you have to change $150 a month, and you extend your visa month by month like that. So I wanted to go and collect money in the West for that purpose. The Prabhupada said, no problem, ISKCON has plenty of money. He said, I will send the money to you. You'll go and open a bank account. How much money do you need every month? And I told him, and he said, no problem. And here's $600. Yes, he said, and we got it. He gave from his Mayapur Vrindavan Trust, or Guru Dakshin. And then for Bangladesh, we had a idea to go there as kind of undercover as BBT representatives and print books there for both for West Bengal and for Bangladesh, Bengali books. So Prabhupada liked the idea. He said, yes, I will invest. BBT will send the money, how much is required. And then after that, Prabhupada continued. He said, these are Bhaktivedanta Swami's books. And this is Bhaktivedanta Swami's business. Those days there was a lot of criticism against ISKCON. ISKCON is funded by the CIA, it's funded by the World Bank. Prabhupada said, this is not CIA money, it's not World Bank money, this is Bhaktivedanta Swami's money, and this is Bhaktivedanta Swami's business. And he said, I stayed awake all night, late at night, writing these books with great endeavor, and my disciples have helped me to publish them, and now they're helping me to distribute them, and they're sending money to India to help with the development of our projects, he said. So he said, this is not CIA money. So Prabhupada, he really worked hard, he endeavored very hard to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and he expected that his disciples and followers would also work hard. They should have good sadhana, they should chant, they should hear from the scriptures, but they should also work hard in their particular services, whether book distribution, Harinam Sankirtan, temple management, deity worship, seva in the kitchen, whatever, some kind of, serious service every devotee should endeavor to do. And this was Prabhupada's strong desire. So in that case, that's why he stopped Vishal even, speaking out his glorification and quoting that verse from the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada was less interested in being glorified than he was in seeing that his disciples were following the process and working hard in the service of Krishna. So this is the means of purification. We should be very clear about that, and we should endeavor to cooperate together to do that. And the basis of cooperation is hearing and chanting about Krishna. Once there was some conflict between devotees in London, and Prabhupada's response was, they're not doing enough kirtan. So this is a solution. Of course, there may be different levels of attentiveness when chanting, but we must continually practice and try to improve our attentiveness in chanting japa, in hearing the scriptures, and our attentiveness also in rendering service to the Lord. So Prabhupada was very attentive to every detail, and we must aspire humbly to follow in his footsteps, even if we are not very qualified, but still we have to try. The Lord is very merciful. Great acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada, are very merciful. He has accepted so many of us, fallen souls, a disciple, given us the opportunity to get on this path of Krishna consciousness, and he's inviting us all to go back home with him, back to Godhead. Okay, so I've gone over time here.
Give him extra maha today, okay?
Hare Krishna. Okay, so I won't take questions, or?
You can take one or two.
Okay.
And then we should end because you're going to go to that initiation.
Yeah, one or two, or any comment from the senior Vaishnava.
I'm not senior.
Anyway, he got his hand up first, and he really let him. Oh, okay.
No, put it, give it to him.
Thanks for the very nice class, Vishnu. How do we reconcile the description of Trivakra's lust, if you like, with the description of the gopis, which is described as being purely focused on the pleasure of Krishna? And you quoted from the previous acharyas the description of Kubja or Trivakra as an expansion of Bhudevi. who we could assume is part of the internal potency, because she's an expansion of the internal Shakti, the pleasure potency. So can we reconcile that? Or how can we view that, in that it appears that Kubja's motivation is, and it's described as being lusty. And yet when we see the gopis, the description of the gopis' desires, they're described as being purely motivated.
Well, these are all leelas and pastimes of the Lord, and different associates of the Lord may play different roles in those pastimes. So I think we take it in that way. I mean, Kubja, obviously not an ordinary person, participant in the Lord's eternal pastimes. So I think that's how we should take it. Maharaj, would you comment on this point?
Prabha answered a similar question. Maybe not exactly what he's asking, but a similar question. Prabhupada quoted the verse. Srila Prabhupada quoted the verse, Akama sarva kama va, moksha kama udariti, tivrena bhakti yogena yajati purusham. So Srila Prabhupada said anyone can approach Krishna, whether one has no material desire or full of material desires. And Kubja approached with material lust, so to speak, but she became purified of that. Only Krishna can do that. That's how Prabhupada answered. I said, okay, I'm not sure. I don't know. He's just asking.
This is a good point. Yes.
Krishna's mother and father were imprisoned by Kamsa for years and years and years. So as mortals, how can we understand that the Lord would allow such suffering when He's a protector of His family and devotees? It seems kind of awkward that someone's imprisoned for years and years and suffering with fear and being terrorized and being the father and mother of God.
Well, so many things are happening, isn't it? In the world.
Many things are happening, yes. This is awkward to understand from a human platform.
Well, we can say the whole world is full of suffering, and especially in Kali Yuga. How can Krishna allow it? But anyhow, this is how the Lord's creation functions in the material world. Of course, it's that's generally should be an impetus, for taking to Krishna consciousness and going back to Godhead. But there are many different factors in here. Who those 6 children were? Yeah. So there's so many intricate details in the Lord's pastimes. Difficult just to give a simple answer. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'll finish here then. Okay. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.
It's amazing to think that they would think CIA would go.